Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Hello, everyone tuning in to INCRadio, Washington, D.C. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Satellite Studio. I'm Sister Elisa Mojica, and today is Saturday, May 11, 9:02 a.m., and we're talking about how newlyweds navigate their first year together. So joining us today for this topic, let's welcome the Fortes couple.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our viewers this morning on INCRadio, Washington, D.C. My name is Sister Melanie.
And I am Brother Vince, and we're in the locale of Baltimore.
Okay, so tell us a brief history of your romantic relationship.
I'm sorry.
Well, we actually met during the 50 Years in the West through a chat regarding the events that are going to happen in Sacramento, California, as the main event was going to be there. We then, ever since, started FaceTiming and video chatting each other throughout the years.
So it's kind of like an everyday thing. We're talking and chatting.
Yeah.
Almost every day since we've met virtually.
So, and after that, up until the point where we had our first meeting together, which was at my graduation. And it was nice because we continued to visit each other up until I proposed to her.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been roughly a year now since we got married in the Chapel of San Francisco.
It's been a year since we got engaged.
Yeah, since we got engaged. Sorry. Since we got engaged.
And a couple months since our wedding. We just got married January 5th, 2024 in San Francisco Chapel.
And now we're performing our duties together.
INCRadio.
For those of us that know us. And even our parents hang out with each other as well.
That was interesting to see our parents hang out with each other. But briefly, that's our story, sister.
Oh, wow. So with all the dating, all those years, how many years were you guys dating?
3,
4, almost 4. Well, if you count our marriage, 4 years.
4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how did you know that he or she was the one that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
This question is for you.
I think personally, answering for myself, I prayed for a sign that if this man from Texas and I was a little girl from California was meant to be in my life, that I would receive a sign relating to Texas. And since Brother Vince courted me, and ever since we started dating and getting married, I would always see Texas license plates wherever I was driving. That was a little way to kind of say that he was the one, but I knew that he was the one for me when his patience was tested several times.
Oh.
And he passed the test.
With flying colors.
Like no one else. So.
What about you, Brother Vince? How did you know she was the one?
Well, I knew she was the one, especially when it came to us having conversations. There were moments where I felt that there were times I was kind of lacking. And so there were times where I felt like she was going to leave me. But every time that happened, I would always pray and I would always say, if she is the one for me and she ends up leaving me at one point, if she comes back, then I know she's
always
mine.
Come back.
And she always came back, no matter what argument or conversation that we had that was very intense. She would always come back to me no matter what. So
Oh, I love that. And I love how you guys made sure to pray about it because we know that God's timing is always perfect and God will give us the right person.
Exactly.
Because that's really cute. But before we continue further with our discussion, let's do a couple shout outs and greetings. So we have Sister Alexis Mira. She said, "We nurture our love for each other by carving out intentional time to have meaningful conversations together." And we have for our special greetings, we have Sister Lilbeth Talons. Happy belated birthday po, Sister Sita Velasco. And Sister Sita Velasco said, "Hello, Brother Vince and Sister Melanie, our newly registered brethren. Hashtag Baltimore represent." And Reagan Taroma, happy belated birth anniversary, Sister Sita Velasco, and all those tuning in. Shout out to all of you guys for waking up this morning and watching us here live. So let's jump back into our discussion. So, before we start actually like officially dating, we want to know about the paalam, or the translation of it, permission to court. Um, Sister Melanie.
You want to take this one, Brother Vince?
I will actually. So when it came to the paalam, or my decision to formally ask her parents along with her to court or date her officially, it was actually during the time of COVID, so back in 2020. And uh, because at the time it wasn't very unnatural to video chat, because it
Hmm.
was the only thing that we could do. I really could not travel there thousands of miles just to say, will I get permission to date you? I had to schedule a video chat along with my parents as well to witness that I was going to say that I would like to date your daughter. And that actually happened. So, in front of her parents and her, along with my parents, my sister, and my grandparents, they were on our main TV in the living room. And I formally asked, "Can I please date your daughter?" And they were kind of skeptical at first because I'm on video chat. So
Mhm.
they've never seen me in person. They don't know what I look like. They've only ever
Mhm.
seen me through a little small screen, a phone, or a slightly larger screen, a laptop. There's no
Mhm.
other situation where they've seen me in person. So it was quite interesting. But they saw that I was active. They knew that I was active, and because of that, uh, they liked me. So
They loved him. I think
Well, you
also,
know how we all know that it is kind of different that we're meeting online, and especially if you want to start dating each other. So how are you, Sister Melanie, how are you able to let your parents know, like, "Oh, I really trust this guy. Like, let's give him a chance."
I think it was just my parents saw us having conversations virtually, like video chatting all the time. He would be on my phone at the dinner table. He would be on my phone when he had big family gatherings. So they knew. I think as parents nowadays, you can kind of get an inkling on whether or not your kid is starting to get into that age of dating and courtship. And I think for me, it was just, okay, mom, I think this is it. Like we've been talking
Mhm.
for a year now. I think we're starting to go in that direction, and just not really hiding it, right? Like just
Mhm.
being able to come clean to the parents and say, hey, I like this man and he likes me, and I think it's time that we get the approval of the parents in the situation. And at the time, tech, we were all online, so it was not really taboo at the time, but so it was kind of working out for us because video chatting was just all we could do. So at the time they were like, yeah, like let's have this conversation. And now looking back, it worked in our favor. So
Mhm.
and
So how did you both feel after you guys got that yes acceptance?
okay, so
relieved,
how we felt was honestly just relieved at the
relief,
fact that they liked us together.
because approval was huge. I think once we initially got that approval, it's like, wow, like this is gonna happen.
Mhm.
So relief.
And now it felt like there was kind of a pressure because now that our parents know,
Yeah.
they're involved as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
now they've after that moment when we transitioned into the dating life.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite interesting
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we weren't the only ones dating each other. We were also dating our
Our
parents.
families,
Our
that
families.
comes with it, right? You sign on to take on your partner and their families. So it was just more getting to know each other from that point. Now the families are involved, and now we see more of the life of your partner. So
And
Mm-hmm.
we have the rings to prove that we finished that life as
yeah,
well.
true.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things in a relationship, like including the family. It's just like, you feel all that love and support.
Mhm.
And, after that dating and the marriage, what about that post honeymoon newlywed life? What were the biggest challenges upon moving in together?
I think I can take this one.
Mhm.
I always talk about how when we were dating and not yet married, I had a certain habit of life, and Brother Vince also had a certain habit of life, and that was probably the huge challenge. But I like to say adjustment instead of challenge, because we knew we were always going to make it work. We're always going to make our differences work. But initially, when when you merge lives, when you start that moving in process together after marriage, and you're really starting to co-live, it's a big change. And I think that that was the biggest adjustment and challenge that we've had moving in, is like, I'm very organized and to the T. Shout out our last topic of spring cleaning. I do that all the time. And, sometimes your partner may not always be that way, and that's okay. But as long as you're able to, have that conversation, communicate, this is
Mhm.
how I like it. And I know that this is how you like it, but let's see how we can meet in the middle. I think that that was the hardest part, because I grew up from the Bay Area and he was from Texas too. So also just the culture of merging the different places we grew up in, that's normal. That's normal that you guys are coming from different places, but
Mhm.
how can we adjust?
Honestly adapt to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that for every couple should knows that you're going to experience that, even if you're from the same place. You're
Yeah,
not from the same families, so you still have a different kind of culture
exactly.
that you need to navigate around. And I feel like that even though that is necessarily a challenge, it's not too difficult if you really love the person and you're willing to adapt and
Exactly.
compromise.
Agreed.
Wow, I love how you said it's not difficult when you love that person. Wow, round of applause. And yeah, I feel like we often hear communication is key, but that is really a big key. And with that, so how are you guys able to communicate, like with moving from West to East Coast? Like, how did you know it was better for you guys?
So yeah, for viewers out there, yes, we are from the East Coast,
Or from the
or from the
West
West
Coast.
Coast. We're from the West Coast, and we just recently moved. And that big move, honestly, with her knowing more about the West Coast than I did, it was much easier for me to transition into the West Coast because she was able to teach me. When it came to
Mhm.
the Midwest, it was the same way. When I was in Texas, I was able to teach her the customs of Texas. Moving to the East Coast, we're both new to it. We have no idea the
Yeah.
culture of what we're gonna face. So since it was new to both of us, we're honestly at the same level
Yeah.
of.
We've now come to a point where we're really starting this journey together, because we've never been here.
Mhm.
And I think that that was kind of the best move just for us all together. We came here because of school, for my schooling, but apart from that, it was really a conversation of, we've never been there.
Mhm,
I wasn't raised there, you weren't raised there, so why not?
mhm.
It was just a really good opportunity to, while we're young, not travel, yes, but experience a life that we both never were accustomed to. And I think that that's a good start.
And since we're both at the same level of experience when it comes to the East Coast, we're both at the starting line.
Hmm.
It's not me catching up to where she
Exactly.
is. It's
It's
not her
huge.
catching up to me
Hmm.
at all. It's we're both together, and that's something that we can face together at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I feel like starting something new with someone at the same time, I feel like that'd be a cool experience, especially in like a newlywed life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your like nurturing your love. What are your love languages, and did it come naturally for you, or did you have to learn to develop communicating in that new love language?
So when it came to love languages, I would say for everyone that is tuning in, you have your initial love language, and that's the one that you think
Yeah.
you are having. For me, it was quality time, and then for her, it was um,
Physical touch.
physical touch. And the reason why that was the case for both of us is because you have to remember we were both long distance at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
so for me, there wasn't a lot of quality time or dates essentially
Yeah.
because we couldn't be together. The only time
Mm-hmm.
we could be together was video chatting, and she didn't get enough physical touch from me
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't there. So the only time that she ever got that fulfilled was when she would visit me or when I
Yeah.
would visit her. Those are the only times that we ever had those kinds of love languages. But over time, as our relationship progressed, those start
Mm-hmm.
to change because then it becomes the true love language that you're really interested in. And for me, it was words of affirmation. And then for her, it was acts of service. Every time I did something for her, whether it's sending her food or uh, helping her with anything in regards to school or work, she would always feel a certain type of way. She would always feel giddy. And then whenever she would compliment me about the things that I did for her, I would too be giddy.
Brother Vince would send me bouquets. He sent me a bouquet on my graduation day. On
Oh.
like our anniversaries, he would send over, strawberry. Just, there are ways nowadays that you can just do things like that. And I think that for when we started dating, it was just so timely. We're so gifted with all these ways to
Mhm.
stay connected. But absolutely, it changed the second that I think we got married, or when he moved to California and we were finally in an in-person relationship. It changed. It was no longer physical touch, and I think acts of service was really my way of like, wow, like my heart is fluttering. I still get the butterflies, just because he thought of it, like he was able to think about me in the back of his head and that action. So
So even with now and like before, how did you make time in nurturing your relationship while taking care of your education and career?
So at the time when we first started dating, I was just finishing school. So my graduation day was coming up in 2021.
yeah.
And so there was not a lot of schooling for me left. But in order to balance our relationship and school at the same time, we never really tried to continuously communicate with each other through video chat. We would always plan
Yeah.
it out. We always plan things out. And because we planned it out, we were always
Mhm.
expecting or always anticipating when it will come. So it just became more exciting, the fact that we're planning it instead of, okay, let's FaceTime while we're studying, or let's continue to
Mm.
FaceTime
Yeah.
while we're doing a lot of things. We timed it out. Even FaceTiming when we study was actually a date as well, I
Hmm.
would say, and it was fun because we would
Yeah.
continuously cheer each other on. We would also have music in the background to help us focus and stuff like that, and just have that presence, whether it's
Yeah.
virtual and not physical. Uh, it was still something that helped us nurture, our
And
relationship.
that and just simply checking in, because I'll always stand by this. You never know unless you say it, or your partner never knows unless you tell them. So that was a huge thing that I had to learn for myself was he'll just know that I'm upset. He'll just know that I'm like feeling all moody, and he doesn't, and that's not his fault. And sometimes as a woman, you have to be able to come to term with your feelings, and also telling him, hey, maybe it's time that we spend more time together. Sometimes you get so lost in your career and in your schooling that your marriage and your relationship, your partnership can just go on the back burner. And sometimes that does happen, but being able to just check in and communicate.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a great advice. And I think it works out for all kinds of relationships. As long tell them how you feel because they can't read our minds,
Exactly.
and they'll understand. And like what Sister Melanie said, you never know. What did you say? You never know.
You never know how they're
You
feeling.
never know. You just never know
Yeah.
what they're feeling.
So what about your disagreements? Because life isn't always perfect. We have our ups and downs. And have you ever had any have you ever had a time you had a disagreement in the time you dated and when you guys got married?
Of course,
Yeah.
and even before we started, before we even thought about marriage, the biggest decision and the biggest conversation that we had together throughout our entire relationship was who is moving to who.
Who is it, Texas or is it California?
We have to
Little
choose.
do we know
I
where
know, right?
We're in Maryland, so it ended up not mattering in the end. But
I think that was a big disagreement, and we always clarify disagreements are a conversation. It's two differing opinions, and we just need to have a conversation about it. Big on conversations in our
Mhm.
relationship. It's different from a fight, right? You guys can make that work.
Mhm.
I think for moving, it was really just consulting our parents, our family, on
discussing the
right
pros and
decision
cons of each
state.
state.
I'm a registered nurse in the state of California, but I couldn't really transfer that to another state. And he was remote. He's working in accounting. So a lot of these things are factors, and that was a big disagreement that we had. But over many conversations, this was not a overnight decision. But over, I think, like a year, we were talking about it, and we came to an agreement
that I would move there. It only made sense that I would move there because due to all of the things that she has, all of her responsibilities and duties, it only made sense for me to move there because I was able to move there.
Yeah.
She would not be able to. It'd be much more difficult if she had moved to Texas.
Mhm.
So in regards to that, since I was able to move, I decided to move generally. And when it came to discussions after that, after the fact of our marriage, it's kind of the same. It's more so conversations and
definitely.
communications, discussing our viewpoints on a certain topic. And then after that, deciding, okay, so because of that, what do you think? And then
You have to look at it that way. It's
Mhm.
just you're two different people, and that's okay. That's fine.
Wow.
Talk about it.
Like imagine you two, like, okay, so California or Texas, like let's make a decision. All that discussion, you guys end up in DC. Wow, look at you guys.
Yes.
look, look how God works.
I know, exactly.
I really enjoyed your storytelling, and I'm sure the audience did too, and how you were able to share advice, and how you were able to learn and grow with each other. So do you have, and before we let you go, do you guys have any personal greetings?
Yes. Shout out to the local congregation of Baltimore and to the District of Washington, D.C. Mid-Atlantic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us, especially since we're kind of new to this
Thank you
district.
for being our new home.
Thank you for being our new home. And also a big shout out to our families for supporting us in this move.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, and I hope that you come and visit us here in the East Coast.
Thank you again for joining us today. Before we move on, let's read our YouTube comments. Wow, we have a lot of greetings and comments today. We have Sister Darlene. She said, part of our quality time together is watching movie trailers. And if something appeals to both of us, we end up watching. And Brother Alfredo Trinidad said, happy wife, happy life. Brother Joshua said, prayer is number one. Slow down and don't identify with your first reactions, as they can often be the wrong one. And don't sleep on a problem. And Brother PB said, intentional. Everything you do, to intentional, so it's heartfelt and sincere. Knowing the love language of your spouse goes a long way. Brother Matt Carl Talents, during an argument, sometimes a hug and kiss helps, but usually you really got to talk about it. It's part of discovering each other and maturing together. Let the honeymoon sweetness only become sweeter. And for our special greetings, we have Sister Alexis Mira. Shout out to my husband, Brother Jim. Sister Grace Galarpe, belated happy birthday to my sister-in-law, Eva. And advance happy birthday to Sister Mary Abera. And Sister Darlene said, congratulations to Sister Krisha Melchor from Waldorf. And also Sister Majine said, congratulations, Sister Krisha Melchor. Brother Joshua said, happy birthday, po Casita. And all these greetings from Mantigala, Brother Marvin, PB, Danilo Yumo, Alfredo Trinidad, Pierre Perez, and Amelia Salazar. Hello, everyone tuning in. So now let's move on to our CFO in action. And our CFO in action will be playing in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Our CFO in action. Let us.
Choir members in the District of Washington, D.C. Mid-Atlantic were once again spiritually renewed and inspired in their duties during the District Choir Day activity. In a special gathering officiated by Minister of the Gospel, Brother Antonio T. de Guzman Jr., the brethren were reminded of the importance of their duties in taking care of their faith as members of the Church of Christ. After the gathering, brethren enjoyed each other's company through games, food, and socializing.
The Brethren in the District of Washington, D.C. Mid-Atlantic has done it again. Backyard gardening is back and has officially launched May 4, 2024. Though there came rain the morning of the gardening activity, the Brethren were unstoppable. They continued to gather together at their respective locations and through WebEx to showcase their potential plants and crops throughout the district. The Brethren plan to continue growing their plants throughout the spring and summer, while generously watering the love of the brotherhood as well.
Here are the upcoming events in our district. We have Waldorf Nature Walk, May 18, 2024 at Great Falls Park, McLean, Virginia. We have CFO Day, softball games, May 19, 2024 at Barcroft. And for our district unity games, it is on May 27 and June 2, 2024. Let's check out what is happening on INCRadio Washington, D.C. next week. So next
First
week,
comes love, then comes marriage, then a baby enters the picture. But are you ready? Tune in this Saturday, May 18th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time as we hear advice on how to navigate the new chapter and adventure of parenthood. Only here on INCRadio, Washington, D.C. Satellite Studio.
and following us today in INCRadio, Florida at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, how AI improves our lives on a daily basis. And for our unstoppable support, we love to give them a shout out. We like to thank our INCRadio Washington, D.C. family for supporting our broadcast, especially to our district minister, Brother Sidney Santos, our subsea president, Brother Angelo Manalo, and of course, a very special greeting to our executive minister of Iglesianicristo Church of Christ, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. And thank you for tuning into INCRadio Washington, D.C. Satellite Studio. Stay unstoppable. Bye.